It's not every day that I get to drive a Lamborghini in my channel. Well, pare, from the looks of it, it looks like today is still not that day. But dude, even if the Jetour Dashing here cannot deliver the same drive experience that a Lamborghini Urus can deliver, well, at least it can still kinda look the part. And to tell you frankly, pare, the Jetour Dashing here is in some ways even better than its Italian inspiration. Now, if you're wondering why the heck did I even say that, well, stick around because I'm going to tell you all about it. Let's do this.
Crossovers are boring. Crossovers are mostly used for practicality. Now, there are only certain ways you can design a crossover to the point that most of them already look alike. But there are times when an outlier comes around with a design that is so outlandish, it will literally turn heads wherever it goes. The Jetour Dashing may be accused of looking too exotic for its price segment, but everyone will agree that it really looks darn good. And for only 1,329,000 Philippine pesos, you can take home this beautiful machine. But aside from its dashing good looks, pun intended, what else can this super SUV look-alike bring to the table? Let's find out. Here at Reagan's Rides, we do car reviews of SUVs, sports cars, trucks, and everything in between. So subscribe and hit the bell.
As I said at the start of the video, the Jetour Dashing here looks like the distant cousin of the Lamborghini Urus, probably on the mother's side, twice removed. Now, I'm pretty sure some of you will already be saying in the comments that this is just another Chinese knockoff of the Lamborghini Urus. But pare, I'm gonna tell you this. If it worked for the first generation Ford Territory, I'm sure as heck that it will work for the Jetour Dashing here. And we all know the kasabihan. Alam mo na kasabihan? You know the saying, imitation is the best form of flattery. So I guess with the Jetour Dashing here, I'm willing to bet that the Lamborghini Urus is already blushing its cheeks. Anyway, most of the resemblance to the Lamborghini Urus can be found right here on the front fascia. I mean, we do get the slim LED DRL units here as well as the LED headlight units down below. And if you look at the shape and the size of this front grille, well, that's where it looks more Italian. I mean, that's where the resemblance to the Lamborghini Urus comes into play. Now, this, my friends, looks strikingly good, but let's move on to the most important question here. How does it drive? Now, before we go to the drive experience, I did say at the start of the video that the Dashing can sometimes be better than a luxury SUV. Now that, my friends, is a bit of a controversial statement, so let me justify that a little bit. Well, for one, you can park the Jetour Dashing anywhere and not be afraid that some jealous mofo will scratch your car. You can't really do that with a luxury SUV. However, since the Dashing looks luxurious and expensive, well, it won't be out of place in, let's say, a 5-star hotel parking area or let's say the parking area of a luxury casino. Now, pare, I'm sure you won't be able to experience the driving thrill of a 500 horsepower luxury SUV with the Dashing. But heck, how many times anyway can you drive fast here in the Philippines, right? And pare, the engine of the Dashing is no slouch. It performs decently for its price category because we have a 1.5 liter turbo 4 here that can still put out 154 horsepower and 230 Newton meters of torque. We also have a 6-speed wet type dual clutch transmission, and the dual clutch is tuned pretty well. See pare, it doesn't jerk around when you're driving in heavy stop-and-go traffic, which for me is a big plus. Now the steering feel is a bit on the light side. Well, heck, who am I kidding? It is super light pare, it's super light, which some people might like. However, pare, I personally prefer heftier steering wheels. So yeah, the lightness of the steering wheel doesn't really float my boat. You know, it feels artificial and it doesn't give you much feedback. I mean, it doesn't give you any feedback. So yeah, I can say that the steering feel of the Dashing is the weak point of the drive experience. It also remains quite light even when I'm driving on highway speeds. I'm on the highway right now, and although it weighted up just a little bit, it's still too light for my taste. So the problem there is at higher speeds, yeah, that lightness of the steering wheel doesn't really inspire confidence. In case I need to do some, you know, some really spirited driving because I'm in a bit of a rush, you know. So yes, the lightness of the steering feel and you know, just the regular average engine output means that the Dashing is really meant for fun and relaxed drives. And pare, you can see that when it comes to the ambient lights of this SUV. You see, we get some fun looking ambient lights here in the usual places on the dashboard and the door cards, but we also have ambient lights on your center dashboard. I mean, in the middle of on the top of the dashboard, I mean, and it flashes whenever you're using your turn signal. See, it usually happens at night, and it's fun. It's fun to look at. A bit, you know, a bit gimmicky, but I gotta admit, it is a cool gimmick. What's not cool though is the lack of physical buttons here inside the cabin. I mean, call me a tito pare, but I highly appreciate physical buttons and knobs, especially for, you know, the functions that I use all the time. Now I can see that Jetour is going for the minimalist look here, but in this case, there is such a thing as being too minimalist to the point that it's no longer practical. I mean, pare, don't get me wrong, I love the whole aesthetic here since we have a large 12.8-inch touchscreen infotainment system here, but the same touchscreen infotainment system seems to control everything about the car. I mean, the AC controls are baked in there. You don't get any dedicated buttons for your climate control here. The auto hold feature is also within that infotainment system, as well as the drive modes, where we have two. I mean, we have an eco mode and we have a sport mode. Now, it's a little bit tricky getting to those subcategories and, you know, those functions. Yeah, because you just have to go into layer and layer and layer of this entire thing, and yeah, it's not really that intuitive. Now, another thing here is we don't get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in the Jetour Dashing. We only have Bluetooth and Carbit, which I think is the QD Link, but it's Carbit here. So yeah, the fact that we don't get CarPlay and Android Auto here is a tad bit disappointing. Now what we do get though is a 360-degree view camera image with HD 3D mode and a fantastic spread when it comes to the cabin materials. Now pare, all of my nitpicks about this infotainment system kind of disappears once you see and feel this cabin right here. I mean, if the exterior of the Jetour Dashing was inspired by the Lamborghini Urus, pare, this interior is pretty much similar to the interior of the Range Rover Sport. I mean, we get these creamy white leather sport seats here, and these seats also come with heat and ventilation, so that's a big plus. And of course, yeah, we also get, I mean, why not, right? We get a minimalist yoke style two-tone leather wrap steering wheel here. And when you say two-tone, I mean we have white leather and gray leather here. I mean, pare, this steering wheel is gorgeous. I mean, it is gorgeous, and it looks like it belongs in a vehicle that costs, let's say, 10 times more than the Jetour Dashing. Now, pare, aside from that, we also get these white and smooth cabin panels here on the door cards, on the middle dashboard. We have these white leather material that is really good to the touch, and it's paired with these gray material that looks like a carbon fiber finish there. And yeah, pare, this entire cabin, it's a feast. I mean, it is so pleasing to the eye. Now, the side profile also gets a modern and sleek design. I mean, you could really tell that Jetour Auto pushed the design envelope here because they gave the Dashing a set of these hidden pop-out door handles there, as well as, of course, these power folding side mirrors with LED turn signals and with Jetour puddle lamps. Now, pare, these hidden pop-out door handles here, though they might not be the most practical door handles to use, well, they do elevate the design aspect of the Jetour Dashing, and it also increases the premium factor of this compact crossover. Now, the same can be said for the wheels and tires. Because, dude, we're getting 19-inch alloy wheels here, which is unheard of for this segment. I mean, it's unheard of for the price. Now, behind those wheels, we also get premium mechanical bits because the Jetour Dashing has disc brakes on all four corners. And for the suspension, we have a MacPherson front suspension and a multi-link rear suspension. Now, the ground clearance of the Dashing stands at 160 millimeters, which is low and sleek and should also help improve the overall ride quality. Which can be felt when you drive on the highway. You see, the suspension feels planted and composed, and running at highway speed feels stable. Highway noise is also kept at a minimum, since the cabin has been tuned to lower the noise to around 36 decibels, which apparently is the same amount of noise that you'd hear in a library. So it's really that quiet. Now, it would be perfect though if the local spec Jetour Dashing received the 8-speaker Sony sound setup, but unfortunately, yeah, we don't get that here. Yeah, we only have a regular 6-speaker setup. Now, we also don't get the full driver assist aids that is available to the Jetour Dashing as you're seeing on your screen. We only have the usual passive safety bits and some driver assist aids like blind spot monitoring. I guess, pare, that's necessary, you know, to reduce the price level of the Jetour Dashing and make it competitive price-wise. Yeah, but it would have been nice if we had some of the nice stuff like adaptive cruise control. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering about the fuel consumption of the Jetour Dashing, but due to the minimalist layout of this vehicle, well, I really haven't found a way to reset the trip computer and find out the fuel consumption. I mean, I've looked high and low, pare, and I really couldn't find it. It's not even on the manual. Now, I'd estimate though that since this is a 1.5-liter turbo 4, pretty much standard amongst the Chinese crossovers, yeah, that it will probably be pretty close to the other 1.5-liter turbo 4 contenders from China. So if that's the case, then that means that light city drives should give back 10 kilometers per liter and around 14 kilometers per liter on the highway. Of course, these are just rough estimates, but that should give you a pretty decent picture as to what the fuel consumption of the Jetour Dashing is like. Now, pare, let's go to the back seat and check it out. The back seat gets a standard amount of space here for a compact crossover, although the Dashing's back seat feels a little bit more spacious because we do get a panoramic sunroof there. Now we also have a nifty little button that can be found on the rear door panel here, and when you press that, well, it activates the voice command of the Jetour Dashing, which is perfect for backseat bosses who have, let's say, a personal driver. Now as for the amenities, well, we do have a pair of rear AC vents here. We have a USB-A charge port as well as this center armrest with a pair of cup holders. The Dashing's rear end is one of the sexiest, if not the sexiest rear end that I've seen in the value compact crossover segment. You see, it looks like Jetour Auto didn't pull any punches when it comes to designing this rear. We get these awesome looking LED taillight units here, plus this aggressive looking rear splitter that can be found on that rear bumper. Now pare, when you pop open the power liftgate of this Jetour Dashing, you'll see that we get enough space for one large sky travel luggage here and probably a smaller carry-on beside it. Now if you're wondering where the spare tire is, well, it can be found underneath the floorboard of this trunk.
If we were to rank compact crossovers according to their looks, the Jetour Dashing would be placed amongst the top. In the crowded compact crossover segment, it uses its dashing good looks, pun intended again, to attract attention. Its beauty is not just skin deep though, since the Dashing delivers just the right amount of features and a cabin that is a class above the competition. As a daily commuter, the Jetour Dashing offers an attractive and comfortable package that would not break the bank. Thanks for watching.